I awoke on October 31, 1990, after a bizarre dream in which I was pregnant again. It felt like I was carrying a child in my womb and my abdomen was round with a baby. My menstruation had arrived and I was bleeding profusely. I was taken aback because I had been breastfeeding. When I phoned the doctor's office, they stated it was probably normal, but to keep an eye on it. I packed my newborn baby daughter as well as my reading bag. Then I rode a city bus to the university to attend classes with my kid that morning. I was okay. It was not until approximately 10:30 a.m. on the bus journey back home that I felt something slide out of my body and down to my trouser leg as I stood up to get off the bus. To my horror, I discovered it was softball-sized blood clot. As others gasped and watched, I picked up my clot. I made the conclusion that I am not going to be able to walk the few blocks back home. I walked across the street to the hospital. I got as far as the lawn in front of the emergency room. I was gushing blood and feeling dizzy and lightheaded. I attempted to get the attention of two emergency department paramedics who were smoking in front of the door. I could not produce a sound louder than a whisper, though. I attempted to fall with my arms spread so I could not fall on my newborn baby girl. I blacked out while falling to the ground holding my kid. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the emergency room. I was given emergency blood transfusion and told that I had most likely kept my placenta since delivery. They informed me that an emergency DNC would be required to scrap my uterus. I was then brought to surgery. They operated on me 3 more times that day, but they could not stop the blood. I was given an experimental medicine that was supposed to seize my uterus and cause it to clamp down in order to stop the blood loss. Instead, it caused me to stop breathing. They were able to resuscitate me and believed that they had fixed me. They transported me to the maternity ward so that I could rest and be reunited with my newborn daughter, who needed to be nursed. The nurse who assisted me in delivering her on October 1st was just beginning her shift. She gave me a dish of food in an attempt to persuade me to eat. When I tried to sit up, the hemorrhaging resumed, and it was worse than before. I was rather frail. They summoned a crash cart and requested my parents' phone number. I was trembling, chilly, and in shock. They were unable to obtain a reading of my blood pressure, and my resting heart rate began to rise. It started at 130 beats per minute and quickly increased to above 150. I was in anguish because blood was leaking from my head, arms, and legs. They inserted a large needle into my neck and began pumping blood directly into it. I knew he was dying and would not make it. My heart rate increased to 180, then to above 200. The degree of suffering were excruciating. I was terrified and did not want it to die, but I could not stand the anguish any longer. Because of the shortage of oxygen, every cell in my body screamed. Over 56 units of blood were given to me. I was terrified, as were the physicians and the nurse. I recall the doctor telling me that they were going to operate and remove my uterus. He warned me that because I was so frail, I might not survive the procedure. I was requested to sign a medical release form. A Catholic priest entered the room to say my final prayers. I could not move, speak, or blink. The agony was unbearable. When my heart rate reached 220, they informed me that I was in defibrillation. They were attempting to jolt my heart. I could not even see with my eyes. I was unable to act, and I couldn't breathe. I discovered what it's like to be completely out of control. I discovered I was not alone in my darkest, lowest, and saddest moments. I became aware that I had a guardian angel on my right. I recognized his name as Michael. He had my hand in his. I saw there was a second angel standing next to Michael. I ascended above my body. I could see the physicians were terrified. My body was blue and in critical condition, as I could see. I was pulled in the corridor by the sound of the kid weeping for me. I attempted to console the physicians and nurses. I wanted to reassure them that everything was fine. I could hear and see nurses arguing in the corridor about me, furious that I had been transferred to the maternity unit. I should have been admitted to the intensive care unit or the emergency department. A curtain was lifted at some time. I was lured down a long, dark tunnel with a beautiful white light radiating love. I heard harps and recognized my great uncle Harry, Ed, and Aunt Vicky. I was completely content and happy. I was at home. I didn't want to return. I went through a life review in which I witnessed every single incident in my life. Every act of love and kindness was witnessed by me. I witnessed every act of malice. I also got to see things from the other person's perspective. Although time did not exist, this life review seems to last an eternity, yet in actual, it was just a fraction of a second. I did not want to return since I was surrounded by love, and the light was God. We are all brothers and sisters, I realized. We all adore each other, but we live in fear on earth, which hinders us from understanding and remembering that we are all related. I was overcome with emotion. I saw a courtyard full of magnificent, brilliant roses that were more colorful than anything I would ever seen on earth. Colors that do not exist were seen to me. I comprehend infinity and all of the universe's wisdom. I noticed white structures that were exposed to the sky. They reminded me of Greek and Athens architecture. I saw the future for my children and myself, and I realized that their father would no longer have roles in our lives. This was taught to me so that I could remain tough while still loving him while he was abroad. I felt emancipated. I do not have to love or attempt to satisfy this person anymore. I knew I had to return, but I really wanted to remain. I knew it would be painful to return to my body. I knew this was where I belonged. The dazzling light filled everything and was completely God's love, unconditional and full of pleasure and serenity. I woke in the intensive care unit. After restarting my life, I discovered that nothing in life was as difficult as returning. School was simple for me, and all of life's obstacles were a breeze. I'm not scared of death. I have the ability to read people's minds and see into the future. I see stories on TV or in the newspaper and read them 31 days later. I have dreams that come true, and I get to see Michael's the angel, as well as my loved ones and pet that have passed on. I occasionally come to cure people, start motors, charge batteries, and unlock doors with my mind. On scores of times, I have been the first person to arrive after vehicle accidents, suicides, or drug overdoses. I've given CPR and brought individuals back to Earth or assisted them in passing over. I was not surprised when my child's father died a few years later. That information had already been imparted to me. Michael communicated with me telepathically. We did not have to say anything. I know when I'm going to die or will be close to dying again. I discovered that everything we do has consequences. Even someone you pass on your way to the bakery or to work. Even the critters you lean over to pet, large and little. Nothing is overlooked. It all counts. My mission is to defend the weak, to be empathetic, and most importantly, to love.